Have you ever heard of a fire that had been burning for more than 60 years beneath the ground under an entire town? Imagine standing on an empty street. The pavement beneath you warm to touch. A hiss of smoke rises from a nearby crack in the earth. The sky is silent, and all around you, nothing but trees, rubble, and ghosts of a town that once lived. This is not a horror movie. It's not the plot of some post-apocalyptic video game. It's real. This is Centralia, Pennsylvania, a town slowly devoured from below by an invisible inferno. A town erased not by war or economics or disease, but by fire. And what's even more terrifying, the fire still burns, and it may continue to do so for centuries. In today's story, we'll journey into one of America's most haunting real-life tragedies. We'll uncover how a single careless act triggered an uncontrollable underground fire, why it continues to burn after more than half a century, and what's left of the once bustling town of Centralia. Prepare for an unforgettable story of industrial arrogance, environmental collapse, and eerie silence. The story of the town that lost everything but whose flame refuses to die. Make sure to stay with us until the end. You won't believe what still lies beneath the surface. To understand Centralia's fall, we must first explore its rise. In the heart of Pennsylvania's coal region, Centralia was officially founded in 1866, but coal mining had been underway in the area since at least the 1850s. Beneath the rolling hills of the region lay vast deposits of anthracite coal, some of the purest and most energy-rich coal found anywhere on Earth. Coal was America's fuel in the 19th century. It powered railroads, factories, homes, and steel mills, and Centralia had coal in abundance. Mining companies moved in. Immigrants from Ireland, Poland, and Eastern Europe settled here to find work in the booming mines. Businesses opened. Churches were built. Schools filled with children. At its peak in the early 20th century, Centralia was home to over 2,700 residents. But with coal came danger. Mines were poorly ventilated. Explosions, fires, and collapses were common. The air underground was thick with coal dust. Men descended each day knowing they might not come back. But the coal was the town's heartbeat. It fed families, built homes, and lit the streets at night. Ironically, it would one day destroy everything it helped create. Fast forward to May 1962. Centralia's landfill, a small garbage dump located on the outskirts of town in an old strip mining pit, had become a nuisance. The town council, preparing for Memorial Day festivities, decided to burn the trash, a common, if not entirely safe, method at the time. But this particular site was different. Unknown to many involved, the landfill connected, through deep cracks and fissures, to the abandoned coal mines running beneath the town. When the fire was lit, flames traveled through hidden channels into the coal seam itself. The coal ignited, and once burning, anthracite coal is extremely difficult to extinguish. It can smolder for years underground, protected from rain, wind, and fire suppression efforts. Town officials tried to put out the fire. They poured sand and water, dug trenches, even closed nearby mines. But it was too late. The fire had found its fuel, and it would never stop. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, the fire beneath Centralia grew slowly but steadily. At first, it was just smoke, faint wisps rising from manholes and cracks in the ground. Then came the heat. Basements and townhomes became dangerously hot. Residents reported carbon monoxide leaks, their gas detectors triggering without explanation. In winter, certain parts of the town never saw snow. The ground was too warm. Children playing outside would avoid areas where the grass was yellow and the earth hissed with steam. The danger was invisible, silent, and deadly. Some believed the problem would eventually go away. Others feared it was just the beginning. Then, in 1981, their worst fears were realized. On Valentine's Day, 1981, a young boy named Todd Domboski, only 12 years old, was playing in his grandmother's backyard when the unthinkable happened. Without warning, the earth beneath him collapsed. A massive sinkhole, over 150 feet deep, opened under his feet. Todd plunged into the hole, only managing to survive by grabbing hold of a tree root. His cousin rushed to help, pulling him to safety seconds before toxic smoke billowed out of the hole. Emergency responders tested the air, and found lethal levels of carbon monoxide rising from below. The national media descended on Centralia. For many Americans, this was the first time they'd heard of the town. But for the people who lived there, the nightmare had been unfolding for decades. In the wake of growing media attention and mounting evidence that the fire was uncontrollable, the federal government finally acted. In 1983, Congress allocated $42 million to fund a voluntary relocation program for Centralia's residents. The plan was simple: offer residents cash to leave their homes and relocate elsewhere. Some accepted quickly, unwilling to risk their family's health or safety. Others resisted. This was their home. Many had lived in Centralia for generations. They didn't want money. They wanted the fire out. But experts made it clear the fire could not be extinguished. Throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, most of the town's buildings were demolished. Whole neighborhoods vanished. Schools closed. Businesses shuttered. Even Centralia's post office shut its doors. In 2002, the town's zip code 17927 was officially eliminated, erasing Centralia from the federal postal map. And in 2009, the state of Pennsylvania claimed eminent domain, forcibly acquiring the remaining properties. Only a handful of residents remained, the last guardians of a fading town. Today, the fire under Centralia continues to burn. Estimates suggest it has spread across over 400 acres, with underground temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit in some places. The fire moves slowly, fed by oxygen seeping in through cracks and vents, burning through the anthracite seam layer by layer. Coal seam fires are rare, but not unheard of. In fact, similar fires have burned for centuries in China, India, and Australia. But Centralia remains one of the longest burning and most destructive in American history. And scientists believe it could continue burning for another 250 to 500 years, depending on conditions. The fire may never go out, and Centralia may never truly rest. Today, visiting Centralia is like stepping into a post-apocalyptic world. Most homes are gone. The streets are cracked, overgrown with weeds, and silent. In some places, smoke still rises from the ground, thin wisps drifting into the sky like a whisper from the past. A cemetery sits quietly on a hill, one of the few parts of the town untouched. The headstones stand in solemn rows, watching over the ruins. Perhaps the most infamous feature of modern Centralia was Graffiti Highway, an abandoned stretch of Route 61 warped by the heat of the fire and covered with layers of colorful graffiti. For years, it drew urban explorers, photographers, and thrill seekers from across the country. But in 2020, the state finally covered it with dirt to discourage trespassers. Still, some visitors come. They walk the empty paths, snap photos of warning signs, and breathe in the strange air of a town that no longer exists. As with any ghost town, legends began to grow. Stories of voices echoing through the smoke, apparitions appearing near old church sites. The air itself, some claim, feels wrong. While most of these tales are exaggerated or imagined, Centralia undeniably has a strange atmosphere. The heat, the silence, the history. It feels haunted by more than just fire. And then there's pop culture. In 2006, the horror film Silent Hill was released, directly inspired by Centralia. The film's foggy, ash-covered town is a stylized version of what Centralia had become, a place where something ancient and terrible smolders just below the surface. Since then, Centralia has been featured in books, documentaries, and video games. It has become a symbol, not just of environmental disaster, but the fragile line between civilization and chaos. The story of Centralia is about more than just fire. It's about choices. It began with decision to light a fire in a landfill without fully understanding the risks. That single moment sparked a chain reaction that led to the town's destruction. But there were other choices too, to delay action, to ignore warnings, to put cost above safety. Centralia teaches us about the danger of underestimating nature and the cost of government inaction. The town didn't vanish overnight. It disappeared slowly, painfully, over decades, and it could have been prevented. Perhaps the most tragic part? Centralia is not alone. All over the world, coal seam fires continue to burn, Silent, toxic, and nearly impossible to stop. And just like Centralia, many go unnoticed until it's too late. Centralia was once a thriving town, full of life, history, and community. Today, it is a hollow shell, a cautionary tale hidden in the Pennsylvania hills. The fire beneath its soil still burns, and may burn for generations to come. But the people who lived there, who fought for their homes, and who now exist only in memory, they are not forgotten. Their story lives on. If you found this story haunting, eye-opening, or thought-provoking, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more true stories of forgotten towns, unsolved mysteries, and hidden histories. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the scariest places are not abandoned because of what's there, but because of what lies beneath.